Hi, it's Corey, and today I'm going to teach you the proper way how to hold a ukulele and where to make sure you position your fingers to get the best playing sound. To start, let's get a ukulele. I'm using a tenor ukulele just because it's a little bit bigger, sometimes it can be easier to see. But the first thing you want to make sure to do is know, are you going to be playing your ukulele standing up, or are you going to be playing it sitting down? I always recommend people to start off by playing it sitting down. That way they can get the best control out of it. Now, as opposed to a guitar, which you kind of hold the side here, you want to make sure your ukulele is pointing up at a diagonal. You're kind of holding it against your chest a little bit. For sitting, this is the position that you want to have. Now, the next important thing is, where are you going to be strumming and where are you going to be playing chords? So you have to know what to do with your hands. I recommend people to strum the ukulele between this section, right above the sound hole and at the lower part of the fretboard. You get a nice sound out of it there. This kind of makes it have like a bit more open, almost like a hollow sound. It's a little warmer and delicate, if you can hear the difference there. Now, the next thing you need to do is know where you're putting your hand. It can be a really important thing, especially when you're up here on the neck. Ideally, you want to try to have your thumb really supporting the neck. Now, when I first learned how to play ukulele, I didn't know this, and so because of that, I learned how to play incorrectly, so my thumb sticks out a lot. And even if you're using really good technique and stuff, your thumb might still stick out, especially if you're trying to play like other kinds of chords, like down here on the fretboard. But ideally, you want your thumb to be kind of placed here, supporting it where the headstock is. That way, you can play your chords without having to worry about whether it's going to sound good. You want to make sure you're kind of squeezing, or like I don't want to say pressing, but it's like you're applying pressure to the chords to make the sound good. Now, with your thumb here, sometimes it's going to slip down. You can continue to place it on the back of your neck. If it slips out, it's not that big of a deal. However, you really want to make sure you still have space. So for instance, if I'm playing a C chord here, you can see I have all that space. My fingers are arched. They're not straight. You don't want to you don't want your fingers to be straight while playing the chord, but also you don't want your palm to be on the neck. A lot of times when people are first starting out, they try to completely hold on to it, but that can make your hand cramp a lot. So even if your thumb's kind of sticking out like that, you should still have that space there so that you can still be flexible with making your different chords. As far as where you want to actually be positioning your fingers, I actually made little X's on my fingers here. You want to be using the tips of your fingers. You don't want to be using like the fleshy part. And I always have my students kind of feel the tips of my fingers here, and they can feel that I have calluses there because I play so much. And that's where you're really wanting to make sure it's really on the tip of your finger. You don't want to be placing it on the fleshy part, because not only you can see I'm already hitting another string, but we use more of that fleshy area to bar when we need to, rather than having it on the tip to play a nice chord. So for instance, if I were to play a G chord and I was just using the fleshy parts, it sounds okay, but you could hear I was pressing my finger down here and I was actually muting another string that I didn't want to. But if I use just the tips here, it's completely clear and you don't get anything in the way. So you might find that this kind of a thing where it's almost like when you lock your knees, you're doing the same thing sort of with your fingers. You want to make sure you always have that nice arch, that nice bend. You don't want straight fingers while playing. It can make your fingers get all crampy, and then you can kind of get discouraged because your fingers just start to hurt. Now, when first starting to learn how to hold the ukulele, your fingers are going to hurt just simply because you're pressing a string into them. But ideally, I'm going to press down here. You can see that there's a little bit of an indent in my finger. If you're pressing with the correct amount of pressure, you're gonna get those little indents, but over time your fingers will callus and then it won't hurt at all. Now they're not gonna callus to the point like a guitar player if they're using metal strings, but you will develop little calluses. So just be aware of that. But again, ideally, if you're ready to play on the ukulele, it's gonna look about like this. And then you should be good to go. I hope you found this helpful. Make sure to keep watching for beginner tips and tricks and tutorials I'll be posting every single day for the month of July. Thanks so much. Bye.